This mother killed her 3-year-old daughter because SpongeBob SquarePants told her to. If you've never heard about this, you might want to. On September 17th, 2022 in Michigan, a police officer named Gerald Sobolewski received a call from a man inside his sister's residence claiming that he found a human foot. So the officer then immediately drove to the residence, and when checking the back room, he found 2 garbage bags with one of them having a human foot sticking out of it, and unfortunately in one of the bags was the body of 3-year-old daughter Sutton Moser, who was stabbed multiple times before being stuffed into the bag. Police immediately got a search team together to find Sutton's mother, and eventually they did find her, and she was passed out in a random graveyard. Turns out the 22-year-old mother named Justine Johnson was the culprit who stabbed and murdered her 3-year-old daughter, and was therefore immediately arrested by the police. When asked why she did it, it was later revealed that she was experiencing hallucinations from heroin withdrawals and not sleeping for approximately 2 weeks. So on the day of Sutton's murder on September 16th, 2022, Justine was hallucinating while watching SpongeBob SquarePants, who apparently instructed her to kill and take her daughter's life. She also said that if she didn't do what she did to her daughter, that they would kill her, and said she was afraid for her life and lost her mind. This case is just shocking and absolutely disturbing, and how could SpongeBob convince you to kill your own daughter? I guess she was hallucinating, but still, this is just absolutely crazy to wrap your head around. Rest in peace to Sutton, you did not deserve this at all.
Always check under your bed before you go to sleep. This, my friends, is the Poltergeist Clown. Click the plus, drop a like, tag a friend, share with 3, or this might get you at night. The Poltergeist Clown is a demonic clown. It takes the shape of a children's toy, waiting for its victims to go to sleep. As soon as it does, it teleports itself under the bed. Once the child awakens, it notices that it's gone. It checks in one place and one place only, under the bed, which then the clown will suck them into another dimension, never being seen again. If this video gets 20,000 likes, I'll summon this cursed clown. Hopefully he doesn't get me before then.
Imagine being so scared of police that you freeze to death. Brandon Bushman was a 34-year-old man living in Minnesota. On June the 26th, 2023, something horrific was revealed. Police responded to a call asking them to attend a property that hadn't been lived in since around February 2023. Just after 3:30 p.m, police found Brandon's body inside of a chest freezer in the property. Now, witnesses had seen police in the local area and spotted Brandon run from the upstairs of the house. It's believed that he had a warrant outstanding for his arrest, and it's believed he was trying to evade police. In doing so, he ran to the freezer of the property, presumably hoping to hide there for a short amount of time. However, after climbing into the basement freezer by choice, tragically, due to it being an older model of freezer, it had no facility to be opened from the inside. It had a latching mechanism on the outside of the freezer only. Tragically, Brandon was trapped. He couldn't escape the freezer. He was found deceased, and the autopsy showed no evidence of him having any prior injuries or trauma to his body.
Now, can you tell that there is something wrong with this picture? At first, when I saw this picture, I couldn't really tell what it was about it that felt strange, but I knew something was off. I had to get some of the backstory and some of the context on it to understand what the picture was even from. This was back in 2016 when the Saturn family went missing, including their daughter. Nobody knew what happened to these people, but effectively their home became a crime scene, which is where the photo came from. Before we dive in, a huge thank you to you for listening to Creep Time, the podcast. If you haven't listened, go click the link in my bio and listen on Spotify or Apple. This was from the initial walkthrough of the home. They typically walk through a home, they'll take photos of every room. If you look at the central mirror, right towards the back of the reflection, you would see that this person is not alone in this room. It was only discovered after the fact that it appeared to be someone was hiding in the darkness next to the chair. Whoever's face this was, police believe they might have been responsible for the disappearance.
Stop scrolling because this has to be one of the strangest and scariest skinwalker encounters ever. TikTok user Samael said that he was walking across a parking lot when a man called him by his name. He turned around and realized that he didn't recognize this man and had no idea how he even knew his name. Things got even weirder though. The man then asked him for $1 and said that I know you only have one in your wallet right now, which was true. Samael said that at this point his heart was jackhammering. He froze there and didn't know what to say, so he said, "Yeah man, I only got $1, but you can have it." He gave him the dollar, and then the strange man said, "Yo, do you want to see something?" The man then allegedly lifted up the back of his shirt and showed him his tail. Then he got on all fours like an animal and crawled away.
Most disturbing videos in the world, episode 6. This picture contains a list of disturbing videos from the least scary to the most. This will be my scariest series ever. Welcome to tier 7 because we skipped a couple of them. And honestly today, we're gonna skip directly to tier 10. The first video is titled Funky Town. This video single-handedly could be the worst video the internet has ever had. Now obviously I can't show the video here, but I can tell you everything you need to know about it. And please remember, don't look this up. Trust me. It shows a man, getting executed, in which they remove the man's face all while he's still alive. And lots of other stuff start happening. And in the background of the video, the song Funky Town starts playing. You know this song? Yeah, that one. Make sure to like and follow because I start my brand new series tomorrow.
What they find out years later will haunt you. A young couple decided to take a late-night stroll through the forest, but little did they know what awaited them. As they walked, the man felt a sense of unease, but his girlfriend dismissed his concerns. Suddenly, the man stepped on something that felt alive and squishy under his feet. Before he could react, they heard rustling from the bushes beside them. They ignored it and kept walking until they returned home. Years later, and they were watching TV when an interview with a death row inmate caught their attention. The man had been asked if he had ever came close to getting caught for his heinous crimes. The killer responded with a chilling tale. "Yes, I remember one night in the woods, a couple walked right by me. The man stepped on the body of the girl who I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away, but they never saw me." The couple watched in horror as the name of one of the most notorious serial killers was revealed. His name was Ted Bundy. Follow because my next story is crazy.
So this murdered Texas couple's missing baby has finally been found after 42 years. And the story is crazy. Let's take a look. So in 1981, Dean Klaus, his wife Tina Lynn, and their baby Holly disappeared without a trace in East Texas. The only clue was from an anonymous caller who said that he had found Dean's car in California. And he claimed that 3 women in white robes drove it from Texas to California. Police were actually able to track down one of the women who called herself Sister Susan, and she claimed that Dean had joined a cult and renounced all earthly possessions. And she wouldn't tell them anything else. It actually wasn't until late last year that human remains found around the same time were confirmed to be Dean and Tina's. Dean had been beaten to death and Tina had been strangled. But that didn't answer what happened to Holly. This year, investigators were searching for human remains around where Dean and Tina were found. And that's when they got a genetics hit that Holly was alive and in Oklahoma. But get this, when they were talking to Holly, they found out that she had been left on the steps of a church in Arizona by none other than 3 women in white robes. Investigation is still pending, and they are really trying to figure out who these white-robed women are. But for now, at least we know that Holly is alive and well.
If you hear a scream, run. This, my friends, is SCP-939, also known as Many Voices. Click the plus, drop a like, tag a friend, share with 3, or this might come after you. SCP-939 mimics the voices of its last victims, either it being their screams or them talking, to lure in new victims. As soon as you get there, it'll devour you. If you hear a scream, don't trust it.
Scariest videos I found online.
We bet you can't watch the whole video.
The last one scares me.
A woman is hearing weird noises in her home. She goes to investigate. This is what happens. A man sees another strange man on the road. Things get really weird.
Buddy! How you doing? Oh! Just some cruisers, man. That's crazy. This guy's crawling at me like a cat. What's up, dude?
Let's say that this thing grabs you and says it won't let you go unless your third app leaks all the photos on their phone right now. Let me know who it is and let me know if you think you're saved or doomed. A man hears something in the drain cover and decides to check it out. This is what happens.
No, yo no sé.
Should I do a part 4?
Kenneth Smith, a prisoner on death row who made history for all the wrong reasons. His story goes all the way back to 1988 when he maliciously took the life of Elizabeth Sennett. He was arrested and sentenced to death. For the next 33 years, he waited until November 2022 when officers told him that this was the last day he was going to be alive. He was scheduled for lethal injection, though the people performing his execution could not find his vein in time, thus resulting in Kenneth surviving. Instead of trying again, on January 25th of this year, the state of Alabama followed through his sentence by giving him nitrogen gas, which was the first time in history an inmate has ever been executed through this method. What nitrogen gas essentially does to the human body is it deprives it of oxygen, thus making it impossible to breathe. Unlike lethal injection, this process is extremely lengthy and painful. It can take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to finish the job. Despite a ton of backlash, the state of Alabama did not listen. After 15 gut-wrenching minutes of Kenneth struggling, he passed away. Since then, a lot of controversy has sparked, so as always, let me know your thoughts.
Millions of TikTok videos are about to be muted in the next few hours, and it is going to change the app significantly. If you didn't know, TikTok pays music publishers a fee that allows you to use music on your videos for free. But now the second largest music publisher in the world, Universal Music Group, has refused to extend their contract with TikTok, and it expires on January the 31st at midnight. And they wrote a massive, pretty angry statement basically calling TikTok cheap, saying TikTok is trying to build a music-based business without paying fair value for the music. They also said that TikTok is allowing the platform to be flooded with AI-generated recordings, which is nothing short of sponsoring artist replacement by AI. TikTok then clapped back with their own statement, saying Universal Group has put their own greed above the interest of their own artists and songwriters, and that TikTok has been able to reach artist-first agreements with every other record label and publisher, saying clearly their actions are self-serving and are not in the best interest of their artists, songwriters, and fans. I don't know if you can tell, but this is basically a lawyer's rap battle. Now, what this means for you and the app going forward is that if you made any videos with music from their artists, which is a bloody long list, Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, Drake, BTS, Ariana Grande, Olivia Rodrigo, Eminem, SZA, Ye, Justin Bieber, and the list goes on and on and on. Your videos will likely be muted and will not go on the For You page. And what it means for the app, well, TikTok does have other partnerships, but they will lose a huge chunk of what makes TikTok TikTok. But the question is, what's the one trending sound that you hope is part of this removal?
How many people do you think you've killed overall?
I've been in the game for a long time. More than 70 probably.
I mean, I'll have to ask you, what was the most violent thing you've done yourself?
I was taking 2 recruits to do a task that was given to us. These recruits obviously were new. They didn't know what they were doing. They got nervous. They came back into the car and they told me that the people that were there were armed. We pull up near this person, and this person is obviously a rival. The person in the back seat, I was driving. The person in the back seat pulled out a rifle and shot him. He missed the shot, but injured him on the leg. At this moment, the rifle jammed. The recruit was panicking. I jumped out of the car, took the rifle, busted the bullet out, and cocked it back in, and I shot him again. This person was still agonizing, trying to drag himself through the pavement. The rifle jammed again, so I basically went up to him and smashed him with the butt of the rifle until his head exploded, and that was it. Jumped back in the car and left. Obviously, there's more things that I've done I'm not willing to discuss at the moment.
This 18-year-old killed a mother and her daughter while street racing. So this is Cameron Herron, and you probably know his story by now. In 2018, he was just a normal 18-year-old kid. At the time of the accident, Cameron was producing content for YouTube, was going to school, and on the day of the crash, he decided that he and his brother Tristan were going to race. So Cameron had a lifelong love of cars, and so he and his brother would always race, and he and his friends would race. But on that day, he reached a speed of 162 miles an hour in his car, and that's when he careened into Jessica and Lilia, a mother and daughter who were crossing the street. Jessica was actually wheeling her daughter across the street when Cameron struck them both with his vehicle. So tragically, on that day, David, Jessica's husband and Lilia's father, was driving home from work when he passed by a huge accident. He said to himself, wow, that must have been a bad accident. He went home, but when he got home, he noticed that his wife and daughter weren't there. So he got back in his vehicle, went out searching for them, and when he returned and passed by the scene of that accident, he noticed the stroller that was sitting on the side of the road. He recognized that that stroller belonged to his family. They owned one just like that. And shortly afterwards, he discovered that the victims of that horrific crash were his own wife and daughter, who were now dead. So Cameron was obviously arrested. He was eventually sentenced to 24 years in prison. And shockingly, afterwards, people have made thirst accounts dedicated to Cameron. The actual hashtag Cameron Herron on TikTok itself has billions of views. And people have been idolizing this guy. His own parents have said in news articles that they get calls at all times of the day to their home from people from countries all over the world, specifically a lot of people from the Middle East, calling to see how their son is doing. But yeah, this is just a tragic story all around. David lost his wife and daughter, his entire family, due to one idiot's reckless decision to go 162 miles an hour down a normal road. And in prison, Cameron Herron is going to be there for a very long time. So his entire adult life is pretty much gone, vanished before he could even be, the legal age to drink an alcoholic drink.
Let's talk about the most banned children's book in the 1990s, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Guys, they did this book so dirty, I need to tell you about it. And if you guys don't know, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a children's horror book that was written by Alvin Schwartz and illustrated by Stephen Gammell. But these books compiled a bunch of folklore stories, accompanied by really creepy drawings, like this one. But these drawings unfortunately led to the book being in the top 10 most banned books in the 1990s. That's because parents deemed the book to have inappropriate and violent themes. The book started being pulled off of school shelves, leading to a drawing redesign in 2011 by another artist named Brett Hillquist, leading the drawings to be dramatically changed, and basically no hate to that artist, but not scary at all. Examples include the dream going from this to this, the haunted house going from this to this, Harold, one of the most popular stories, going from this to this, the red spot going from this to this, as well as so many others. Like, that's not okay. That's not okay. And this, of course, led to multiple resellers selling the book with the original drawings at very high prices. Fans were so disappointed until 2017 when this was released. The books finally got republished with the original drawings. But unfortunately, these don't have the original covers, which is okay. I feel like most fans just wanted, the drawings back. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel like this only happened because 2 years later, there was a film adaptation by Guillermo del Toro, and this re-release literally says, soon to be a motion picture. Personally, I don't think the book should have been banned at all. But if this was terrifying, then just close the book. But what do you guys think? Do you think this book should have been banned? Yes or no? Well, what are your thoughts?
Search teams have located the missing 4-year-old child with autism who went missing in Barber County. They found Phoenix Wilkerson, who before today was last seen Friday afternoon on Sid Bush Road in Clayton. Officials say Phoenix Wilkerson was found by a group of search canines and then was taken to a hospital where he's now being looked at by medical personnel. It is unknown at this time the condition of Wilkerson.
Jurors on this case were so haunted by the crime that they needed trauma therapy. In March 2018, 38-year-old Veronica Youngblood from Virginia was arrested. On the night in question, she had given her daughters gummies laced with a sleeping aid. Her daughters were 5-year-old Brooklyn and 15-year-old Sharon. The mother of two then shot both of her daughters. Horrifically, Sharon did not instantly die. She was actually able to ring police and explain to them that her mum had shot them both. When jurors on the case were played this 911 call, they were so distressed that they actually needed therapy. The teenager was taken to hospital where she sadly passed away. It transpired that Veronica had called her ex-husband after the killings and told him that she hated him. She also told him what she'd done. It's believed that her motive for this hideous crime was revenge over him. He'd actually been planning to move away to Missouri with Brooklyn the following weekend. Following her trial, Veronica was sentenced to 78 years in prison.
A missing North Carolina teenager was just found hidden under a trap door in this man's home in a completely different state, and what he has to say about it is horrifying.
She hid on her own free will. She was actually in the bed when the officers first come in there. Her grandma kicked her out. She didn't appear to be that age. She had all kinds of piercings.
In December, a 16-year-old girl left her grandparents' home in North Carolina after a fight and disappeared. She was officially reported missing on December 6th, and her grandparents feared the worst. But what they didn't know was that 3 weeks prior to her disappearance, a 34-year-old man named Zachary Jones found the girl online and started talking to her. And he actually lured her from her home after the fight with her grandparents. Zachary then drove the girl all the way back to his home in Lincoln County, Kentucky, where he repeatedly sexually assaulted her and gave her drugs. Fast forward to Christmas Day. Zachary's mom called 911 to report a domestic violence incident between Zachary and who she thought was his girlfriend. And when police arrived at the home, he said the girl was not there. He was quickly cuffed and placed in the back of a cop car after authorities found drugs in the home. And when they went back inside to search for the girl, they found something incredibly disturbing. Locked inside of a trap door hidden under a rug in Zachary's bedroom was a young girl who authorities say appeared very high. After investigating, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office realized that the young girl was reported missing nearly a month prior out of North Carolina. According to the girl, whose name has not been released, she said that Zachary initially told her that he was 19 online, but when she met up with him in North Carolina, he looked much older. It was there that he said he was 25, and it wasn't until they got all the way back to his home that she found out that he was actually 34. The girl said that Zachary was always armed with a gun and that he forced her to tell his family that she was 18. He also threatened to kill her many times and proceeded to sexually assault her and give her drugs, sometimes even strangling her during the assaults. When the girl was rescued, Zachary denied choking her and said that she hid in the trap door on her own free will, but the girl had very visible marks on her neck that proved otherwise. The victim also said that on their drive back to his house, they were pulled over by a cop, and Zachary told her that he would shoot the officer if they were asked to get out of the car. Zachary was arrested and is being held at the Pulaski County Jail, while the girl was taken to the hospital for treatment and was reunited with her grandparents. In an interview from jail, Zachary admitted to all of it, but said that she told him that she was 18. He said that she didn't look to be 16 as she had all sorts of piercings, and that he was helping her after her grandparents kicked her out, which was not true. Zachary is facing 30 different charges in just Kentucky, but he's also facing more charges in North Carolina as well. He's being held without bond, and judging by his lack of remorse, I truly hope that he never gets out, because this story is absolutely terrifying.
These are the worst of the worst videos on the internet explained, and today we're starting with Funky Town. Before I begin, never look this video up. This is a massive trigger warning. The video begins in some sort of room and music is playing. The first song that plays is Sweet Child O' Mine by Guns N' Roses. And the camera pans to the victim on the floor with plastic wire. And the torture had already began before the video started, because the victim looks like he's already been through complete brutality. His hands have already been cut off and his face has been completely flayed, which means skinned. There is no skin on the victim's face at all, and his eyes have been gouged out. And there is an insane amount of blood all on the floor. But the most messed up part about this is that the victim is hooked up to some sort of IV, and the IV is pumping him with drugs to keep him alive. And completely aware, making sure he feels everything that is happening to him. At the start of the video, they try and slit his throat with a farming sickle and press it against his jaw. But when the victim begins to scream, they shove a box cutter in his mouth to shut him up. His screams are absolutely gut-turning. They kept going from screams to gurgling, from screams to gurgling. As the video progresses, they take the box cutter and slit his throat about 40 times. And keep in mind, the victim is still alive and aware of everything because of the drugs they are giving him to keep him alive. Also, the cartel members are mocking and laughing at the victim the entire time. They then continue to try and slit his throat with the box cutter and were going at his neck numerous times. All while the song Funky Town was playing in the background, hence the name of the video. The cartel members kept having to physically restrain the victim, meaning that there was still a lot of life left in him. And the amount of pain he had to be in is completely unimaginable. At one point in the video, a cartel member has his foot on his chest holding him down, and another time they shoved a pole in his mouth holding him in place. But the worst part about the video is towards the end, where the victim manages to loosen his arms from the restraints and immediately tries to touch his face. But remember, the victim has no hands to feel, no face at all, and no eyes to see. The victim was most likely in so much shock that he likely forgot he had no hands, but instinctively the victim still tries to touch his face. It's absolutely horrifying, and the video then concludes. Also, keep in mind the victim was still alive when the video ended, so who knows what else they did to him before he died. Because they were just keeping him alive to torture him. What makes Funky Town so horrifying besides what happens in the video is the mystery behind the video. We don't know the victim's name, we don't know why he was being tortured this way, or what he did. The only thing that we do know is that it took place in Mexico and it's extremely horrifying to watch. You can make an argument that nobody has ever been tortured this bad in history. Funky Town is definitely one of the worst videos out there and I don't recommend watching it ever. But to start off this series, Funky Town has the first spot.